The Barnstable Town Council meets Thursday night at 7 o'clock inside the Town Hall hearing room, and here to bring us our customary preview of what you can expect at this Thursday's meeting is Assistant Town Manager Tom Lynch. Hi, Tom.
Good morning, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Let's get right to the business at hand, a busy agenda coming up on Thursday night. Before we actually go to the agenda items, I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going to come up early on in the meeting. Some of our outgoing legislators are going to be honored at the council meeting.
We have 2 out of 3 whose schedules permit them to be there on Thursday night, and that's Senator O'Leary, former Senator O'Leary, and we'll be recognizing his many years of service to our community, and actually lives in Barnstable, very pleased at what he did for us over many years. We want to recognize that. And then secondly, Matt Patrick, who has represented part of our town in the House of Representatives at the state level. We also want to say thank you to him. Representative Jeff Perry was not available at this point in time, but we expect at the February first meeting of February, he'll be available to receive recognition also.
Are you excited about the new legislators that we have in office?
Well, it's a new year. It's exciting. I think they're going to bring new energy, and hopefully they'll work closely with us.
Surely. Now let's move into the agenda items. We'll talk about old business, and some of these items we've discussed a number of times here during our preview interviews. But let's go back to it because the joint public hearing with the Planning Board for an amendment of our zoning ordinances to allow different types of uses in an affordable housing district in town, that's going to come up and potentially be acted on.
And this is very project specific. There's going to be an assisted living facility and a residential community that's being built by the LaRusso Foundation. They asked to have the affordable housing component of that built off-site. And we're granted that. Mm-hmm. And they own the old Whitehall Nursing Home on Route 28,
sure,
down near the senior center, the intermediate school. It's on the right-hand side, heading toward Falmouth. That was going to be all home ownership. So when they approved the zoning ordinance for it and created this district, those are requirements. Looking at the market, they feel that perhaps a mixture of rentals and home ownership or some combination thereof would be more financially feasible for them. They don't want to change the affordability of it, always be permanently affordable. But they are asking for that flexibility to have rental units. So that'll be the main question before the councilors and see what their position is.
Okay. Also, a couple of items that we've discussed before regarding the Barnstable Municipal Airport. Environmental studies, both of these items are, and appropriation requests for them. The first one is it's being called an environmental risk assessment for Uppergate and Lewis ponds. I believe this is to take a look at the water quality of those ponds, which has been in much discussion in the public and in town boards and committees and commissions recently.
And it's really their stage 2 funding. These are capital projects that they've requested. Mm-hmm. Were to be voted on later on in the fiscal year, but because of some controversy raised around it of whether or not there was any impact from those ponds on the quality of our water, the Airport Commission asked if we could move those up in response to some of the questions from councils. So both of these items have been put on the agenda so that they can get moving quickly on determining whether or not there's any sediment or anything in the ponds that is causing problems. There's nothing to indicate that it has been, but this moves us faster into that stage 2, or moves them faster into that. And the second component is the whole master plan, which is part of what the council has been looking for as it relates to all of the growth that's going to be happening around the airport. And of course, again, water quality is an important issue there because it does sit. Many of them, a lot of the air sits in zone 2s.
Right.
So we're looking at. So they're going to show how they'd grow, where they'd grow, and so that's an important item that's before the council's.
And again, I think that it's important to note that this isn't a knee-jerk reaction to ask for these studies based on what's been happening. These have been long programmed, but now being brought to the fore. I think just kind of to put any types of concerns that might be floating out there to rest Although, as you mentioned, there's been no indication that I've received, and I'm sure no indication you've received, that there is a serious problem in the drinking water wells or Upper Gator Lewis Pond or anything like that that's close to the airport.
No, they're aware of certain contaminants that are there. They're not moving. But that's what the studies will confirm.
Right.
We'll look at, try to confirm, and then look toward what remediation one would take place in the future.
Sure. Now, moving into some new business items, Tom, it would look to me, and obviously the larger discussion about this is going to come up at a later date after the planning board has a chance to hash it out, but it would look to me that what we're looking at is a couple of agenda items that might lead to town-wide sign code changes.
Well, I think we've seen that anytime a sign code is brought up, it generates a lot of discussion.
Yeah, I would agree.
We went through that last year on Main Street with the A-frames and the trade flags, all of that. And, there was a solution for the Main Street issues. But as you point out, real estate signs and other parts of town that want to see, trade flags, open signs, things like that, the councilors from throughout the town have brought these issues before their fellow members. It's their sign code. I know Growth Management has helped with the some of the wording to make sure it fit, but I think a lot of work was done by the councils themselves. So that'll be referred to the planning board for a public hearing. I'm sure they'll massage it, look at it, see that it fits, and then at some point in time the full council will get it back for a vote.
I think that the sign code issue has been one of the great successes of communication between stakeholders and municipal government over the course of the past year or so. Of course, it got done in downtown Hyannis, but since then, there's been conversations had by town staff and councilors with every significant village group that wanted to participate in this process. And I think that what we're looking at here is truly a consensus, or at least a good compromise as to what everybody wants in the community.
And all the stakeholders want, one reason I think the planning board likes to hold a separate hearing is because they give a chance to, in a more informal session than many of the public hearings they held before the council, to look at it and make sure you're not doing something in Barnstable Village that people don't necessarily want in Centerville or in Osterville. And but there are ways of directing aspects to the ordinance, to accommodate those the business needs and the desires of the community in those villages. So I'm sure the hearing will be enlightening, and then hopefully the product that comes back will be one that a majority of the councils can agree on.
Absolutely, and this is just at the beginning of the process now. Of course, the planning board will have a series of hearings to render a recommendation, and then it'll come back to the council for a final vote on approval or disapproval.
We also have one late file that has come in from the school department.
Okay.
The school building administration frequently will call and say to the superintendent, gee, there's an allocation of funding. If you put a renewal letter in, we can move you into the queue, and so where we meet with the school superintendent weekly, mm-hmm. and she likes to plan ahead and have things in an orderly fashion. But sometimes these things come about quickly because the state notifies the town, gee, you can take advantage of this to get in the queue, and we're put in a position of needing to do a late file rather than doing it, scheduling it a week or two ahead as we normally like to do with the agenda. So it may look like it's coming in at the last minute, but it's really kind of a function of the state asking them to do something, and this would provide for needed capital repairs in some of the school buildings.
Okay. Thanks to Assistant Manager Lynch, as always, for the good information. And now, let's take a look at this week's remaining meetings. Wednesday, January 19th, there's an amnesty hearing in the Town Hall hearing room at 6 p.m. At 7 p.m., the Zoning Board of Appeals meets in the Town Hall hearing room. Also at 7 p.m., the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission meets in the Selectmen's Conference Room. And at 7:30, the Shellfish Committee meets in the MEA Conference Room on Finney's Lane. Thursday, January 20th, the Town Council meets in the Town Hall hearing room. Well, that's all for now. I'm Nick Cortez, and we'll see you next time on Barnstable Today.